and good morning. Yes, we are back. And as we promised, City Councilman Jeff Griffith is with us live in the studio this morning. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning.
Interesting City Council meeting last night. We'll be talking about that. Do want to remind our listeners, if you have a question for the councilman about anything that relates to city government, feel free to shoot us a text message and we will ask the question of the councilman. 806-680-2790 is our text line. Well, you said you got a little wet on your drive to work, or your drive to the show this morning, huh?
Yes, I would highly recommend folks be careful because there's been pockets of pretty heavy rain.
There'll be some street flooding.
Yes, absolutely. There was a little bit on Quaker.
Yeah, and so you can always depend. Lubbock is so flat. You know, you get a quarter inch of rain over a short period of time, and you've got some flooding issues.
Yes, we do. And
only for a short time, though.
Yeah,
and then it's gone.
Is. But, as folks are hurried to get kids to school and to get to work, folks do need to be careful out there this morning.
Yeah, you're going to need to send the Childies off with a raincoat and an umbrella this morning if they have to stand out there to wait for a bus.
Galoshes.
Yeah, and galoshes. Mm-hmm. That's very, very true. Because it is raining here in Lubbock, and of course, again, we talk about Lubbock, but it's raining over the South Plains this morning. A big rain cell moving through and some heavy rain. Anyway,
my daughters love it when it rains because it gives them a chance to get their umbrellas out. And
there you go.
Their grandparents live in Nashville and gave them the full thing. I mean, they gave them the umbrella, the wet suit or whatever. It's not a wetsuit, but it's a
real rain gear.
Rain gear, and then
they're set up this morning.
The boots and everything. And so I'm like, I can just see them getting giddy over the fact that they get to put all that on.
Well, we have. Again, City Council met last night, and the headlines this morning are saying that you give the first nod to short-term rental tax. First off, tell us what is a short-term rental tax, and what are we you guys get giddy down there when you find something to tax. and am I right? And so you found something new to tax last night.
We absolutely did.
Oh boy.
Yes. And this is visitors to Lubbock. When you check into a hotel, whether I was in the Metroplex over the weekend for meetings, and obviously I paid tax at that hotel.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of taxes usually.
It's a lot of tax. Local, the way the ordinance is, we call it hot tax. And it's for hotel, motel tax, basically. But when you hear that term hot, that really means collection of tax that a city and state get from
hotel occupancy tax.
Yes.
Hot.
Thank you for correcting me. Now, the ultimate goal here was because now short-term rental is very, very popular in our city, has been for actually several years. But these folks collect tax and pay it to the state by law. We needed to start collecting the city's portion. Cities all over do this. I mean, if you've stayed in an Airbnb or VRBO, those type of operations in other cities, you're getting taxed about 90% of the time. We're a little bit behind the curve on this.
So one thing that is big about this tax is that those that aren't paying the tax are at somewhat of an advantage, as far as being able to price their houses or whatever against those that don't have to pay the tax, such as hotels and motels.
Very good point. That's a perfect analogy. And we felt like everybody should be on the same playing field, level playing field.
So how would you even start to take this? Because I know that, like you said, Airbnb is not going to take these taxes. So how does Lubbock begin? I mean, what are the steps to make sure that people are paying the taxes?
Good question. Lubbock we're not a big enough city. Houston's the only city in Texas where Airbnb actually it's part of, in Harris County, it's part of the deal where they are committed to collecting the tax for the city of Houston. That's the only big enough market in Texas. We are, and that was part of our discussion last night. We have a third party company that has done it for, I believe, Denver, Dallas, other markets that analyze who is a short-term rental and create a registry so that the tax becomes available for collection. So it puts them in a mode of registration.
So if I have a house that I'm wanting to put on short-term rentals, would I have to go to them to register, or are they paying attention and they just know I'm doing that?
Well, obviously, for you to put your product out there, your house for rent,
right,
you pretty much have to be on the internet.
Right.
So it's their mechanism to find all the ones in Lubbock, and that's how you get registered, if you will.
So does Airbnb? Are they willing to give you information on when it was a property was rented or anything like that?
That's one reason we have this company doing this. And they monitor availability and non-availability of that particular property.
Yeah, I doubt there's a whole lot of Airbnbs in Lubbock.
There's a whole lot.
What would you guess, Dave?
Oh, I wouldn't. I wouldn't venture.
Last night when I checked, it was over 300.
Wow. And
at times there's been
that's sizable. That's some sizable revenue for the city.
Well, it's a cool product. I've never stayed in one, but
I don't know the difference between an Airbnb and a B&B.
B&B, I think, usually is a bigger property, but the Airbnb is gotten to be very, very popular worldwide, and there was reference last night to new technology like what we dealt with a year and a half ago with scooters, what we dealt with a few years ago on Uber and Lyft. So new technologies come out. I think it's a neat product, and a lot of people are selling it.
Well, I was just gonna say real quick that I have used Airbnb. And for me, I have a family of 6, and fitting a family of 6 in a hotel room you may have to get 2 hotel rooms, whereas a lot of times you can get an Airbnb. It may be a little more expensive than 1 hotel room, but it's cheaper than 2 hotel rooms. And anyway, it's a great product.
So 7:16 a.m. We'll be back with more of Councilman Jeff Griffith in a moment here on KFYO Mornings with Matt and Dave. 7:22 a.m. here on KFYO Mornings with Matt and Dave, and this morning in our studio live, City Councilman Jeff Griffith to talk about all things city and what's going on there. So you guys had an interesting meeting last night.
Yeah, we did. It was actually an extended meeting, and a lot of this was there was a lot of speakers on the STR Airbnb topic. So we took a lot of time to listen to the folks in that public hearing.
So let me ask you this: is there any idea what type of money is going to come in from this?
Oh, that's a great question. I do not know.
From the Airbnb?
Yeah, I do not know. But again, as of yesterday, it looked like there was over 300 properties.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So I would never have thought that.
So now, Randy Christian, last time, Councilman Christian, when he was here 2 weeks ago, talked about putting restrictions on what certain properties in certain locations could be used for. Is there anything at this time that y'all are looking at?
No. And let me back up. Matt, I'm glad you brought this up. Councilman Christian and Councilwoman Joy formed a committee to study this, and because of open meetings acts, we can't all huddle up in that committee room. Mm-hmm. We can have 2 or 3, but definitely not 4. So those 2 council persons met with hoteliers, STR owners, Lubbock Board of Realtors, Lubbock Apartment Association, stakeholders that are involved in this technology. And so, and this was their recommendation to start this ordinance of registry and to collect the tax. So it's really nothing beyond that. There was a component of this called social gatherings, which they recommended strike that out. And so they amended their ordinance to vote. So it did pass unanimously, I might add. But they've talked with several people that have had issues with STRs. I did explain to the audience last night, in my 5 years on city council, y'all, I really have only ever had one complaint about a short-term rental location in 5 years. And because my district, I have more. I think I have more than any other district, especially with Tech Terrace, around Texas Tech campus. So I respect those council people's work in that their concerns, if they're with other property owners next to someone that has one of these rental units, and the property rights component is on both sides of it. You as a business owner, if you own an STR, Matt, you have property rights and to do with what you want to with that property, but you want to respect the neighborhood. Most of these owners, I've found out, y'all, they want their property pristine and very, very cool looking and marketable, because that's the way they get better ratings on Airbnb.
Yeah,
so you're more apt to rent from them.
They do a lot of updating. They do a lot of cleaning.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so I see both sides of it, but I am concerned futuristically, and I apologize for drawing this out, y'all, but I am concerned long term about handcuffing or putting too much regulations on these properties, because they self-regulate real well, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, can you tell us what percentage it is for a hotel rate? Like $100 or $150 hotel bill. What kind of money are we talking about? Or $150 a night Airbnb?
Well, by the way, the last data I've got, the average room rental in Lubbock, this probably is 2 months old, was $89. It was $86. It's moved to $89.
Wow.
Okay, so that's kind of where we're at on hotel averages.
Right.
This is a hip pocket guess because I don't know the exacts, and I hadn't had enough coffee. But it truly is. The state gets more, but the city would probably get $10, maybe.
So it's close to 10% goes to the city?
Yeah, it's not that, but as far as the total tax collection between the two, I'm sorry.
Okay, gotcha.
Mm. Well,
it may be a little higher.
Yeah, I know. We just had a
15%.
A 4-night stay up in Ruidosa, and well, I'm telling you, the tax was about 20%.
Yeah, it can get up to
which is not unusual.
Yeah, it can get up to, I think, 16 or 18%. But I think when you break it down, that's where my math is foggy.
We had Judge Parrish on yesterday, and we're talking about the county is going to hit up the B&Bs and all also for raising tax for their multipurpose arena.
Okay.
So a lot of people.
Interesting.
A lot of times citizens confuse city and county, two separate entities, taxing entities.
Yes.
And I guess y'all communicate with one another on that.
We actually do in a lot of ways, but
okay. Coming up here on our 7:30 break, we'll take that and then come back with more of the city councilman. And reminding you, well, I don't have time to remind you, but we'll be back right after this. And we're back here on 95.1 FM, 790 AM, KFYO Mornings with Matt and Dave. And in the studio live this morning is City Councilman Jeff Griffith, talking about everything that's been going on with the city. We do have a texter this morning and some communicated questions with us, Jeff. What about the area at 54th and Avenue Q? There was some activity there yesterday. By the way, I drove by and saw that. Will this continue and be totally cleaned up? It has certainly taken a long time.
We hope.
That's the old Villa Hotel.
Yes.
It is a mess, and I'm sure we've talked about it before when you've been on this show, and I'm sure you drive by like I do occasionally, and it's a major eyesore.
Absolutely.
And the weeds are up over your head. I can't believe the city hasn't cut those down.
There's some things I can't say about that property. I will tell you that, and I apologize to be that way, but because of the ownership of it. I will say that work had started a few weeks ago and then paused, and like I say, I just got back in town yesterday, and I dropped by there a lot because I'm like you. I want that to be cleaned. We were a little bit handcuffed. I don't think we're going to be handcuffed much longer. I'm tickled to see. It looks like ownership is starting to take responsibility the way it should be. It sounds like they've picked back up with their duties of cleaning that up. And that's the responsibility is on the ownership of the property. Well,
I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was some time ago, so many months ago, they started to clean this up, and there was a asbestos issue.
TCQ had paused them to do some testing.
Forced them to stop.
Yes.
And, and my question was, it's going to have to be cleaned up at some point in time, so why hasn't the city moved on this and started this cleanup again? It's got to go somewhere, asbestos or no asbestos.
Right. We needed the owner to take responsibility.
Financial responsibility, I suppose.
Absolutely. We're talking about several $100,000.
Well, I'm sure.
A lot of, especially if you have asbestos issues in there, then it's even more expensive. But that's great news to hear, and I will check on that later today.
Okay.
I appreciate them letting us know.
So we had this is out of Everything Lubbock. It said that the Lubbock City Council talked about Lubbock, the master plan, downtown master plan. Now, it said that business owners, county officials, and citizens discussed that. Did y'all have some kind of forum for that? Or was that just part of the standard meeting?
It was not part of the standard meeting.
Like a work session or something?
What it's about is there is a consulting company that is engaged with our downtown TIF, and they will lead groups today in analyzation of downtown. Since downtown and now it's changing so rapidly, I mean, it's a good time to reassess plan. Our downtown master redeveloper, it's part of their responsibility to put this plan, to get this plan finished. And it's really a good time to do it, in my opinion, because we've had so much happen in downtown, and y'all, a bunch more will be happening in the next few months.
Yeah.
So there was and I don't know if you'd be able to comment on this or not, but there was a statement from Councilwoman Joy. She says, if you want to have a downtown that's vibrant, where people live, you've got to have walkability, livability, connectivity. We have too many cars. What does she mean? It's just not easy to walk around down there? Or?
Well, I'm not sure. You need to ask
I
Ms. Joy.
I was just
let me
wondering what y'all were talking, if there was something y'all were talking about specifically.
The population's coming to downtown. We're now with what's going to happen with the NTS tower. That's going to become
Now,
80 apartments.
I've got a question, but
I mean,
are we a little worried about that being low-income apartments?
There's only a certain part of it. It's not
I know,
Section 8 housing, man.
Well, I understand that, but you're talking about low-income apartments. You
Well,
may even have
rent-
tech students or
rent
whatever.
controlled.
And then you have other parts of it that are going to be, I guess, standard, what they're calling standard apartments,
Mm-hmm.
which, but you're not looking at high-end or anything. You're looking at just
you
regular
can
apartments.
be real picky about this.
I'm not being mean or
No,
picky.
I know
I'm
you're
just
not.
saying
I know
what-
you're not. But the bottom
does that
line
worry
is
us at all about what,
Not at all.
could potentially go in there?
not at all. My sister has lived in one of those in another city, and it's an incredibly nice place. And I will tell you that I'm not worried about it at all. That is part of our population. It is a good thing, not just for downtown, but workforce. We need
But
workforce.
is this designed with the tech student in mind?
Some of it.
So,
Yes.
Okay.
Some of it will be student housing, no doubt about it. But part of it to get the grant money from the state, it's not local.
Well,
from the state is and it is in an opportunity zone. So it helps the developer, no doubt about it. The neat thing is, right now you have 16 stories of that building that are not inhabited at all.
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a lot of empty space.
Right. Nothing going on. But so I'm real tickled that project is,
That's good.
So
yeah. And these are guys that have done, you remember the hotel in Plainview? The
yeah,
multi-story old
right. That's what I was
historic
going to ask.
hotel?
Have y'all been there to see that?
I have not.
Okay.
I hear it's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
But I really think this is going to be really good. South Plains College coming up downtown, going to be dynamic for its integration
Yeah.
and their association with Texas Tech. So
this-
workforce is it's wonderful to be that we're growing that downtown.
Okay, we got to take another break here.
Okay.
So let's do that and come back. And we want to continue this talking about downtown because this story goes on. So there's some more questions here. Back with the city councilman here on KFYO Mornings with Matt and Dave after this. 95.1 FM, 790 AM, KFYO Mornings. We are back with City Councilman Jeff Griffith here. We continue on with talking about this downtown issue. Latrell Joy said if you want to have a downtown that's vibrant where people live, you've got to have walkability, livability, connectivity. We have too many cars now. Matt just hit on that, but I'm not following exactly what she says. Of course, it may have to do with the brick streets down there that are so rough. And Matt's made this point time and again that you kind of tear your car up just driving over those brick streets. Has there been any mention, Councilman, of maybe doing away with those bricks?
I think that's part of what this committee of stakeholders will start talking about today. That probably is a topic on their list. And it's real interesting, y'all, over the years. I can't prove this, but it seems like every time I talk about this, it's kind of a 50-50 issue. 50% like them, 50% don't.
Well, they're historic. As I recall, they were put up in the 30s during the WPA program during the Depression.
Yeah.
And that gave men some work. It took
right.
a lot of work to
Right.
pave a street with brick.
Yeah, and it does cost us, citizens need to know, it does cost the city more to take care of those brick streets, you can imagine.
Yeah.
So there may be, I hope there'll be some really good thoughts come out of this plan about the brick streets.
The biggest problem is not, I guess, expense is always an issue, but the fact that in some places it seems like they're not even really being taken care of, or underneath the bricks, been eroded so bad that there's nothing there to hold the bricks where they need to be. You've got, it's just there's something very disconnected there as far as how the roads should be and how they are. And so I don't I especially look at the bump you have there on Texas Street, right? There's one that's just, it'll tear up a car every time you go over it. And it just makes me think, why would someone want to live down here where they have to drive over this every day?
Well,
and so if the bricks were perfect and they were laid out perfect and you could drive over them, I don't think that would be an issue. The problem is, like you said, the expense and even the ability of finding people who can work with brick. I mean, it's going to be less and less, I think,
we
on the
used to
roads.
use, years ago, Dave, you might remember this. It's been decades, I think. But we used to use work release crews from the county jail to work on those, to redo them. But that's a little more of an overhaul. And to your point, since they're literally 90 years old in some cases, 70, 80, 90, and some of them have been redone. But maybe there's a possibility of saving some of them for the historic value, and then maybe there's areas where you don't have them. And lower cost.
I've even heard people say maybe you can make brick crosswalks or something like that,
or
just leave a little piece of it. But
Good
it's
there's your walkability.
Yeah, but it's the roads themselves have to be drivable. And cars were so much different when they had the brick roads anyway.
Yeah. Good point.
The story goes on. It says some of the meeting's topics include the plan to attract large employers, multi-use developments, possibly relocating the farmers market. We're talking about relocating it away from the farmers market that's every Saturday morning on Buddy Holly. Is that the one they're talking about? And moving it away?
That's news to me.
Convincing more tech students to live downtown.
Right. Well, you're going to, again, population's what's about to happen in downtown. And as you populate
it's you have to be really special to want to live in a downtown environment. That's totally different than living in the suburbs.
We just had you'll be surprised who's living downtown in some of the loft apartments and Pioneer Hotel. And there is an amazing amount of folks that you wouldn't think would be living in downtown that already are. And it's not just attorneys or tech students.
Yeah. Okay. 7:52 a.m. Quick break, and Dave and Matt and the city councilman, Jeff Griffith, will return after this. And we're back with the just a couple of minutes that we have left, and I'm sorry we can't get to all these texts. What do we got? A couple of minutes, 3 minutes. So we did want to get to the shelter. This is one of the issues we haven't covered this morning, Councilman.
We had a great report during work session yesterday from Lubbock Animal Services, and I'm very pleased to see these results in the first 6 months of this year. Average save rate right under 92%. So that entity has, that department deserves kudos for what they're doing with the amount of adoptions, and they really have done great. Years ago we weren't very good. We're doing outstanding. I'm very proud of this department for our city. I'm very pleased. It's humbling to see what they've done.
Well, I've had some experience with the city shelter back a few years ago, and I can say it was probably, in my estimation, the city element or part of the city that needed the most improvement. I'm glad to see that they are making some improvements out there.
Dave, I appreciate you saying that, but yeah, they deserve kudos. They really are.
While we're on the dogs, I don't know. Do you know anything about how the dog parks are doing? The new dog parks that y'all put in?
The dog parks are doing well. I don't know the numbers this summer, but from what I've seen, they've done very, very well, both of them. And I'm glad we have them. for those folks that want to use them. But I know they have to replace the mitts, if you catch my drift, quite often, and that's how you can tell. It's the mitts for cleaning the dogs.
Yeah.
Well, what is coming up? Use your crystal ball here, and then also your telescope, looking forward. What can we expect? What's going to be the big news that we'll be talking about a year from now regarding city government?
I think that we're headed the right direction with public safety, with these new substations. I think it'll be fantastic development for policing to see that evolve, and we'll get public safety is job one, and I'm very proud that we're getting these substations underway. That's number one. The other thing we're going to talk about is how great Texas Tech football is going to be doing. I'm excited for Coach Wells, and
we're going to get
this season started.
Get a preview this weekend.
Yeah,
Councilman Jeff Griffith, we're always glad to have you in and talk about what's going on with our city government. Thanks again for coming in.
My pleasure, Joe.
We're looking forward to seeing you again soon. And that's going to wrap up this half hour. We'll be back with more about Dave in the Morning here on KFYO after this.